what about the potatoes and rice? And the seasons that they have in there, like the salsas and mix, is those bad too?
Well, as far as your grains and your starchy carbs, if you're going to do potatoes, red potatoes would be the best source.
Okay.
You have plenty of grains. You don't have to. You're not really restricted as you think, or people are not restricted as they think when it comes to the grains. You have spelt, you have teff, you have quinoa, you have polenta, you have wild rice. Brown rice, I'm not a fan, because sometimes it's white rice soaked in molasses or a drying process that turns it brown. So I'm really not a fan of brown rice. A lot of the vitamins and minerals are stripped away when they strip away the hull. So when you eat wild rice, you get the whole, the kernel and the hull, and you get all of the full benefit of the rice. There was a scientist, not a scientist, I forgot what his name was, but you can, he cured a particular disease by feeding some people whole rice. And these people benefited and they progressed. Some of them still had hints of the disease. I forgot what it was. But then he introduced processed rice, thinking that it was the rice kernel that was what was healing them. And they completely regressed. And then he, after some figuring, like, well, what happened? I mean, what did we change? And then he figured out that he changed the whole grain rice to the processed rice with the hull stripped off, and it's just the white rice. Once he reintroduced the whole rice, the kernel and the hull, the disease disappeared. It went into regression for the people who didn't disappear in, and it disappeared totally. And the people who continued perpetually on that diet. Polenta is a form of, it's like grits, but if you see it, it's yellow. So it tastes like grits, but it's yellow because dried corn kernels are yellow. That yellow has a certain nutrient level in it, the coloring. What's the yellow in the corn is a kind of a carotene, just like carrots. So, you know, if you take the color out and you have bleached grits, which, you know, some people say it's hominy. They do make grits out of hominy, but I don't believe that the hominy kernel is as nutritious as the corn kernel. And the grits that are bleached from corn, well, same thing as the processed rice. So those are some of the grains that you can use: the polenta, the wild rice. You want to stay away from anything processed. Basically, you want to stay away from anything that has over 5 or 6 ingredients. That's how you know you're staying pretty much in the range, because a lot of the chemicals used in foods that corrupt the food are preservatives. A lot, not always. Some of it's flavoring, but most of it is preservatives. Now, if you know anything about preservatives, almost all foods can be preserved with salt and vacuum sealing, or ascorbic acid and vacuum sealing. Ascorbic acid is like vitamin C. It's a synthetic form of vitamin C. I know a lot of people may think vitamin C and ascorbic acid are the same thing, but ascorbic acid is a derivative. It's a synthesis that's formulated into vitamin C. Citric acid is actually organic, original, non-synthesized vitamin C. But you can preserve almost any food with ascorbic acid and salt and vacuum sealing. So there's really no need for this plethora of chemicals that they put in the food that they claim are there to preserve it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Man.
Now, of course, if you eat meat, you want to go organic. There is as I said before, there are many pathways by which corruption is introduced into the food. And just as fruit has a pathway that synthesis, inorganic material or inorganic chemicals can enter into the food with the fruits, and the permissible amount or permissible source of that chemical, just as that applies to fruit, certain practices apply to meats that can be allowed to, for lack of a better word, be introduced into the meat that's synthetic, but the meat still be classified as organic. So you want to be careful with that. But yeah, you can eat meats that are organic. I would stay away from pork altogether. I'm pretty sure people understand why. And that's common knowledge. Fruits, vegetables, oats, as long as they're organic, and that could be a whole nother case, because some oats are contaminated because they're processed with foods with gluten in it. But the organic oats, they're not. So they're not supposed to be. And the oat, although it is a high glycemic food, it has no gluten in it. Now it does have a prolamine, which is they classify prolamines as under certain categories, and the gluten is under the prolamine category, but it's separate and apart, and it gets kind of confusing. But the oat prolamine is adenine, which is not like gluten. So adenine and gluten are both prolamines, but they're two different chemical substances. Oats, you can that's a grain that you can use, and there's a few others, but generally those are the ones that you'll find in the contemporary markets.
Okay, man, you giving us some good stuff right here, man. So, because at least for me, man, you told me what I can do with the grains, the rice, and what stay away from. You actually mentioned with the actual oats, because I deal with stilled oats, and you basically said stay away from processed food. So, you guys, you hear that? You start making your own bread. You know what I mean? You can start doing that. You start just preparing your food. Get back in there and start doing what your mama used to do. Damn it! But so you don't want to cook no more. But anyways, now let's segue into liquid, because people thirsty and they tired of water all day. So I think I saw coconut. And then I think I seen hemp on your shelf. So I'm more of a fan towards rice milk, but you kind of like said, oh, you ain't a fan of that, because rice milk is made out of brown rice. So and sometimes I make it with the long grain, but it's hard to find it, brown rice. So let me ask for you. It might have been short grain. I think it's long grain. But what drinks you feel are some good drinks that people can actually bring into their daily body when they're actually, because the beauty of it all is you're going to be letting them know, those individuals that need to call somebody and get some assistance on actually how to guide and help. You're going to have to, everybody's goals is different, like you mentioned before. Where are they at right now? They still eat meat and they want you to give them some assistance, some help and guidance, or they actually, all actual disease, Hashimoto's or celiac and whatnot, or they have IBS, or they have anything with their joint arthritis. I mean, we can go on and on. Everybody can't eat the same when you're actually going through an ailment or situation. And just because you don't feel it, don't mean you ain't going through nothing. So that's what my brother Health, he is for. But getting back to what I was saying, I know everybody, you just can't give up. That's why sometimes when you speak, and I can tell you just can't go in, because everybody's different. And then even body's different. Their DNA is different. But can you now go into why we should be drinking certain kinds of I guess hemp milk? Well, I mean, can you go into that, and different kind of maybe juices that we can drink? Apple juice. Dr. Xavier said pineapple juice is acidic and whatever. I mean, I keep trying to help people understand that the mother and alkaline foods as well as your body. So understand, I don't get, but anyways, can you help them and help me as well? Because I'm learning, I was always learning about the liquid that we can take, down to sodas. I know we're supposed to leave those alone, but I see those Hansen sodas on the shelf that say cane real, made from the real cane. And I'm like, Let me try this. So I need to find out, is that no, or coconut, whatever, hemp milk, what should I be drinking? Help me out.
That's a good one, because those Hanson drinks, they are tempting, man.
Oh, he said tempting.
They use the cane sugar, that kind of gets you. I've been got by that before. You know, again, it's hard because it's really going to depend upon the person's food intake and their body structuring and their mind structuring goals. And again, I put it that way because that's the way we need to think about what we're doing with structuring our bodies and with structuring our minds. It's that important. So it's all going to depend on what their needs are, what their goals are. For example, diabetics shouldn't even really be bothering with a lot of fruit juice.
Okay.
Definitely shouldn't be bothered with sodas. Because a lot of those things, if they don't specifically know what they're looking for, and it's difficult to find any soda that doesn't have a high amount of sugar in it, because carbonation blunts a lot of sugar's efficacy. So they have to, that's why you'll see a can of soda with 36 grams of sugar or up to 40 grams of sugar. You're like, what is going on? This is why a lot of reasons why they have to use also, in addition to sugar, you'll see high fructose corn syrup, sugar. You're like, why are they putting two sources of sugar in here? It's because when you add sugar to carbonation, carbonation blunts a lot of the efficacy or a lot of the taste of the sugar, basically. So if you were to mix a teaspoon of sugar in water, and say 4 ounces of water, you'll get a sweet nectar, a sweet taste. If you were to mix that same teaspoon into 4 ounces of soda, you'll taste mostly the acid. You'll taste a little hint of the sugar, but the carbonation will override a lot of the sugar's taste. Does that make sense? So when you're looking at about liquids, or when you're talking about liquids, you have to watch those types of things. You have to understand that these types of things are being done to make these products marketable and palatable. Fruit juices, sodas, it all depends on what your dietary requirements are. Of course, in moderation, they're good. I would get a pure fruit juice, of course, with no added sugar. Any fruit juice I get, it would be with no added sugar. Apple juice is very ubiquitous in that you'll get apples from different countries that go into the same plant to make the juices. So to say you're going to get pure product from that, it's kind of difficult to say from my perspective. But if you go to a health store, you can usually see that they bottle the juices, and some of them have the pulp in them. Some of them still have certain enzymes in them when it comes to like pineapple juice. Some of them still have, they're misty. Like you can get apple juice that's unfiltered. That's good because a lot of the enzymes are still in the drink. A lot of the nutritional consistencies are still in the drink. Commercial stuff, I would stay away from. But health food stores usually sell pure 100% juices. And if you can get unpasteurized, which is not easy to come by, that's what I would go for. Because pasteurization kills a lot of the enzymes and a lot of the nutritional value in juices as well. That's probably more difficult than going and buying fruits that are preferable. Getting the fruit juices is probably a little bit more difficult because it's going to be difficult to get something unpasteurized. It's like getting raw milk. Well, not raw milk, what do they call it? What is that milk you get that's not pasteurized? Is it raw milk?
It's raw cow's milk, and it's non-pasteurized, but a lot of
pasteurized milk, very difficult to find.
It is.
Same thing with the fruit juices that are unpasteurized. But if you have to get it, try to get it from a health food store, 100% pure, no additives, unpasteurized.
Now, what about this hemp milk and stuff like this, and almond milk and rice milk and soy milk, and everybody's trying to find out, okay, is it good? You got so many.
If you want to, if you stand away from the dairy, which is a good thing, then yeah, that's the best alternative, or that is a good alternative. The best alternative is, if you want almond milk, is to get a juicer that can get the milk out of the almonds for you. They're expensive, you know, but you can go that way with the almond milk, or you can just get almond milk that's organic.
If this information has helped you in any way, or you found it valuable, don't hesitate to subscribe. Also, for consultations, go to listeners101store.com, navigate down to the health consultations link, and from there it will take you to our health library page where you can receive a consultation.